Hello and welcome to Console Shock 24, retro and modern gaming chat with me, Trev, and Stuart McNeil from Playnation Games. How's it going, Stu?
Hi there, Trev. Yeah, I'm really good. Thanks for saying my full name.
I said your full name again, didn't I? Bugger.
Yeah. Do you want to give over my PIN code?
Oh, I've done that already.
What date of birth?
I'm not sure. Do people want that, your stalkers? I don't think they do. Might put them off anyway.
It'll just make it a bit easier for them.
Reveal the true horror of your age. Might put them off.
Exactly.
So, thanks for joining us on the podcast if you're listening. We actually have a guest that is quite fond of using his full name on the old interwebs. And he's been on the podcast before, somehow managed to persuade him to get back on again. It's Oliver Harper of Oliver Harper Retro Reviews, Respective Reviews. How you doing, Ollie?
Good evening, Trevor and Stuart. I'm doing okay. I'm very well, thank you.
How is having the full name on the interwebs going? Do you get stalked like Stuart is probably going to?
No, I don't think so. I get a lot of friend requests from random people I don't know. So
us, for example.
Yeah, that's the extent of it, you know. So, but it's funny when I get, you know, I bump into people on the street and they go, "Are you Oliver Harper?" I'm like, "Yes, I am."
Do you really get that?
Yeah. It was random thing. It was recently. I was in Brighton for the marathon. I was just in a pub with my friend. Spoke comes up to me and goes, "You're Oliver Harper." I went, "Hello, yes, I am." Yes, that was random, just completely random. Yeah, it's happened a few times, which is nice.
So wait a minute, you went to Brighton for the marathon and just sat at pub.
I didn't take part, obviously. You know, my girlfriend did.
All right, what a marathon is this?
I'm not going to marathon.
It sounded like you had a marathon beer session while she was running around for 4 hours.
I squeezed in about 3 pints before she finished. So,
well, there's arm exercise.
I took it easy. So.
Well, that's interesting insight there. You got that to look forward to then, Stu. People friend requesting you on. Well, I guess you have a shop, so there's a bit of fame or notoriety.
Yeah, I do get lots of customers. They do add me on Facebook, and then about 1 a.m, I'll get a message from them, and like, how much do I get for Black Ops 2? And it's just, oh god, it's not good.
To be fair, I kind of stalked you, I guess, in the early days of Console Shock. Well, before we actually fully started it. That's how it started, really, wasn't it? I watched you on the old YouTubes and thought, I'll have a slice of that. I popped into the shop and you just sort of had a chat. There you go.
Did you see the video we did last week of the PSX we got in?
Oh, yes. That doesn't work, apparently.
Yeah, it doesn't work, but we thought, well, it's so rare and... that we'll still take it in and attempt to fix it. And if we don't, well, it's saying that it does what you can put files onto it and you can read them from the hard drive. So you can put videos on there. And if you're in Japan, you can connect up your aerial to it and watch Japanese TV. So there's plenty of things you still can do with it.
So it's just a DVD drive that's buggered.
It's basically, we had a few Japanese games in the shop, so I just tried them and just nothing came up. But there were a few videos on there, and it's got a little sort of USB drive on the front, so you can upload videos onto it. And it's so some of it worked, and you know, not all of it, but.
There's actually a chap on YouTube. I think we mentioned it before on the podcast. Adam Koralik.
Yes, he has one, doesn't he?
He did a PSX review, and I think his is busted as well. But he says he just sort of goes to a blue screen. So it sounds like you're not as bad as that.
If you check out the guy, he was quite popular a few years back. It was that Luke Morse one.
I think I've heard that.
Yeah. He's an American guy who lives in Japan, isn't he?
Yeah, and I'm sure he had a PSX, and I think he may have fixed it, but he did that sort because he often repairs things now and again when he decides to put a video up. But he'd sourced a few and tried to fix them. I think the common problem was that either it's the hard drive goes, or it's like the DVD drive goes, and they're not particularly easy to fix. So
we've got a repair guy in the shop who Trev's going to meet on Saturday, and I said to him, can you repair it? He goes, oh, yeah, I'll find the schematics. And he's really enthusiastic about, I can fix this, and almost wanted to sort of buy it off me. And I was like, no, we want to try and get it fixed, and then we can make a bit more of a deal about it. And you know, and,
You can actually sell it.
yeah, and sell it.
I could fix it and charge double or something.
Yeah.
Well, yes, it's a business. You got to sell for profit.
Yeah, well, exactly. You know, it's we do buy stuff for less than what we sell it for, and
yeah.
But
You can't survive off selling, pre-owned copies of FIFA 2010 or whatever. So
no, you can't.
If only, God, you'd be a billionaire, wouldn't you? That was okay.
Yeah, we got enough of them.
It's a weird device though, because it came out in 2004. It wasn't designed by Sony Computer Entertainment, who obviously made all the PlayStations. It was made by just the general consumer electronics division of Sony. So it came out looking not much like a PlayStation. The controller ports are on the back, which is annoying as balls to pop your controllers in. I think the memory card slots are there as well. Or there's a little flap.
The memory card slots are on the front.
Yeah, so you open your flap, pardon the pun, stick your memory cards in there. And it basically, I think the PlayStation 3 kind of fulfills most of the stuff that does. I mean, okay, there's the DVR thing, but I remember I used to use Play TV with my PlayStation 3, which is a little Freeview tuner you could pop into it.
That's
and
right,
it could
yeah.
record programs to the hard drive, and you could actually export the files, which is really cool. So yeah.
Well, I think this was the first system. Well, actually, probably the PSP was, but this was the first sort of home system to have sort of the crossbar menu system.
Yeah, it was.
So when you put it in there, you think, oh, it looks just like a PlayStation 3, but of course, it's a PlayStation 2, and it's. I mean, if that machine worked, I'd love to have that sitting underneath my TV, and I could play the Japanese games. It was such a good looking machine, and.
I think the ultimate one for me, in terms of other versions of Sony hardware, is probably the launch US and Japan PS3, mainly because it had. Obviously, they're not hugely reliable now. I think that most of them are dying, most of the 60 gigs. But the one in America, it had the PS2 hardware built into it. It had the emotion engine and the graphics synthesizer inside the PS3. Whereas the one we got on launch in March 2007, it had the graphics synthesizer and not the EE. So most games kind of work, but there was a lot of glitchy stuff, and they're very easy the American ones you can mod them are easy. So you can basically make a region 3 PS1, 2, and 3 in one console, and it's just ideal for that.
Well, I didn't know you could do that. I'd love to get one of them.
Yeah, you have to get it in America. You have to get the American or the Japanese launch 60 gig. That's got the EE and the GS in it, and it's 100% compatible. It's literally a PS2 Slim inside the PS3. It's 100% compatible. Whereas now you've just got the still right, the Super Slim, but you can't play PS2 games. Well, you could download PS2 games and play them. Won't play them off the disc.
I think you could play the SingStar games. There was some sort of emulator they put on there late in the day, so you could play all the old SingStar games or something like
the games
that.
But that's not really. Yeah. Yeah. Any thoughts on the PS3 and PSX there, Oliver? Have you got one?
No, I never owned a PlayStation. Never owned any of them. Yeah, it was. I was always baffled when the PSX came out, because it was when the PlayStation 1 came out. It was kind of nicknamed the PSX. Yeah. And when they released a sort of PSX actual machine, I thought that was quite bizarre. It sort of took on that name. But as you say, it was developed by sort of Sony's kind of consumer division, and it turned out to be a piece of crap because their consumer division is crap, basically.
These days, yeah, absolutely.
Back in the day, Sony was it was a big name, and everyone sort of trusted that brand. But nowadays, I wouldn't buy a Sony product.
It's funny because when the PlayStation was in development, they were kind of the laughing stock of Sony, and a lot of people in Sony found it offensive that they're making what in their eyes was a toy, and now it's the PlayStation that's propping up the whole company. If it wasn't for the PlayStation, they would have gone bust.
Yeah. Well, Sony had dabbled before, hadn't they, with computers like the MSX? That's probably why the PSX then came about. But obviously they tried to dabble with Nintendo and kind of fell out. But you were mentioning sort of the joypads and stuff being on the back of the machine. It kind of reminds me of a Philips CDI where it's got like the extra control ports on the back. It's just a machine that's not really thought out well, but it's got. The intentions of it are good. Like it's a very cool product, but it just doesn't work properly.
They did that a little bit in the sort of those weird little quirky hybrid things. Like they brought out a TV in 2010 that was a Sony Bravia that had a PS2 built in.
into
Oh,
the
right.
base.
Weird.
It's like the base
Yeah.
was a PlayStation 2. I'd love to get one of those.
Yeah, but
Mm.
I mean, that's obviously well into the life of the PS3, but they thought, oh, let's put a PS2 in a telly. Yeah, maybe because they could miniaturize that. They couldn't do that with the PS3 then.
I presume they're like ridiculously expensive online then, those TVs.
I think so. Yeah, they're not very
Yeah.
good as a TV. Really, they're like 720p. Might not even. Yeah, I think
Nah.
they're 720p. So that's absolutely disgusting.
It's not worth it, really.
Yeah,
I think they go for obviously a lot more than a 720p 24-inch TV, which is probably not worth
yeah.
20 quid or something. They're around sort of the sort of £100 mark, or
Oh, that's not
maybe
too
a little
bad,
bit more.
you know.
So for a little bit of a novelty,
Yeah,
I think
100
it's
quid.
worth having.
Trouble with the PS2 is it has horrendous video output. It's very dark, not very sharp at all. It isn't even using RGB SCART doesn't really make it look that much better. I've got a PS2 Slim that I have a HDMI. But it's actually a sort of a third party sort of Chinese PS2 connected to HDMI. It just plonks in the back. It's quite easy and simple to use. Trouble is, it only works for PS2 games, because if you try and pop a PS1 game in, the HDMI standard, the HDMI standard doesn't support 240p, so you have to sort of.
It's funny you mentioned the sort of the video quality, because I remember when I worked at Game when the PS2 launched.
Yeah,
I think a short while after it come out, people were sort of fighting over kind of S-video leads, because Sony didn't release an RGB SCART at first, because all you got was a crappy composite. Then they released the S-video lead, and everyone was after that. And like, people didn't really have a clue really what the quality was like, because people were saying, "Oh, I want S-video." I'm like, dude, it's not very good S-video. You want to wait for the RGB.
Yeah.
And it eventually did come out, but they were charging like maybe I think it was like £30 to £40 for the cables, the official Sony ones. But yeah, it's still, as you say, it still looks quite dark. It's you probably just sort of fit around with the sort of the contrast and brightness to sort of get around that problem, but it does end up sort of blowing out the contrast if you adjust it too much. But yeah, it's a bit of a shame really. It's like Nintendo stuff, the N64, Super Nintendo and stuff always had kind of, well, the N64 had the worst, for sort of video out.
Yeah, it's terrible.
But it's always by nightmare trying to get the best quality out of these machines. When you're a teenager or a kid, you're just kind of having to fight over sort of trying to find these third party end up being crap anyway. They're just like composite to SCART. It's not really RGB.
Yeah, I think the Saturn was the first console that they gave you a SCART lead in the box. I think it was an RGB SCART lead.
The UK version one, the first model that came with an RF adapter, I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, then I think sort of the smaller one came with the SCART. But yeah, even Mega Drive. I think the Mega Drive 2 may have come with a SCART, maybe.
Possibly. Even like for 360 now, I think you still, if you buy a 360, if you can find a new one these days, I think it still comes with a composite video sort of leads that go into a SCART block that you plug into your telly. Which is ridiculous. In that particular model didn't come out this year or anything, but even by the standards of that, it should be like you think. I
think the 360 kind of the revised design should come with an HDMI, I believe.
No, I don't think it did. I think it never. I don't think. No, I remember I got a Slim. I got an S to the Xbox 360 S a couple of years ago, and that just had the component lead. Or the composite lead.
It must have come with. I've seen in the shop. We've had
Xbox
360 branded HDMI leeds. They've been, hanging around.
Yeah, they're branded leads, but I'm not sure Microsoft. Yeah. The PS3, I think you got that with an HDMI lead, and the Wii U, you got an HDMI lead. But yeah, but then the great thing about HDMI is there's no real difference in quality. It's a digital signal, so whereas with analog sources, it can vary greatly, can't it? Depending on I've been burned a few times before I got into like video quality and what that meant and what I had to do. I'd end up buying crappy sort of RGB sort of lead for the GameCube off eBay, and it would look absolutely horrendous. Like it basically just be the RF signal piped through a SCART lead. But then, the GameCube RGB SCART lead, that's about 50 quid on eBay now.
Really?
Yeah,
the official one.
The official Nintendo one, yeah.
I think because with the Nintendo one, the official one, because usually with RGB SCARTs, you get all the 21 pins in it.
Yes.
But I recall that the GameCube one didn't have all the pins, but it was still RGB. And yeah, that was still going for quite a bit when it came out. Like, because I was still working at Game when that lead came out. And the console did. But yeah, it does. Yeah. But yeah, I sold my GameCube not long ago, and it had the official RGB with that. I should have kept hold of that. Just sold the lead separately.
Yeah, you would have done all right. I should have had this podcast earlier. But yeah, no, I actually use mine. I've got my Super Nintendo plugged in. I use it on my Super Nintendo. It looks great. Very clean picture. No noise. Very little noise. I've got one for my Mega Drive as well. It's not the Sega one. It's like retro gaming cables. Chap on the interwebs makes them. It's not that great, actually. It's kind of, the picture isn't that clean. It's kind of got, a weird jail bar effect. Apparently, I've got to get a particular kind of RGB SCART lead for the Mega Drive that has like C-Sync or something, and pay an extra 3 or 4 quid.
Oh, so yeah, that's syncing rubbish. Yeah, I remember that.
I don't really get it. I don't really know what it is. I should look it up, really. But yeah, cables, they're always frustrating. But yeah, anyway, that wasn't quite the subject of the podcast today. Cables.
That's your fault, Trevor.
I know.
I love cables.
You guys your video chat. If I get you going,
we've got to do a whole podcast all about cables.
Probably could actually.
Yeah, I think people want to hear that.
Probably that's more your domain, actually, Oliver, isn't it? You can probably do. I'm sure people ask you, like, "Hey, I've got a Laserdisc player. How do I get, whatever video?"
The future is RF cables. That's the future.
No, boo.
Want that on a T-shirt. So what we're talking about today is collecting. So obviously this podcast is focused mainly on the video games, and I think we've all got experience collecting. But we're going to, touch upon other nerdy type stuff that we collect. And obviously, we had Ollie on a few weeks ago, and we spoke about laserdiscs and collecting of laserdiscs. We'll probably touch upon that again. So I think to get us started, Ollie, what sort of things do you kind of make a point of collecting?
At the moment, I collect film soundtracks, which are often ones that are kind of printed in limited numbers, so I have to get it before it sells out. I go to a bunch of websites like Intrada.com or maybe Intrada.net. There's La La Land Records. There's Film Score Monthly. There's because there's recently I just purchased Monster Squad, Naked Gun Trilogy, Beverly Hills Cop 1 and 2. So some of these soundtracks obviously had never been released before. So you get, especially Beverly Hills Cop 1 and 2, they sort of remastered them and released them in limited numbers. So, I had to get them. But and also, what else do I collect? Retro Gamer magazine. I try and collect that still.
Yeah,
I've got way too many copies. I don't know where to put them all. And probably I'm quite picky on what sort of Blu-rays I buy as well. I mean, I don't buy every new film that comes out. I'm always after something that's very specific.
Yeah,
like it's going to be like a special collector's edition of such and such film, But I kind of gave up really on the sort of retro video game collecting quite a while back due to the fact that you spend so much on a collection and don't really play the games that much.
Yeah,
so
guilty of that.
That's one of the. There's a similar trend I'm seeing across a bunch of retro channels where people just like, they start one console, then they build up enough games, and I see another console that entices them because it's like monkey see, monkey do. They see they see a YouTube video, someone going, "Hey, I've got all these PC Engine games," and someone goes, "Oh, I want that," and then they copy it, and they want to do that, but they don't really know the cost of it all, and end up, being glued to eBay trying to find the best deals, and everyone's doing the same, trying to find the cheapest deal, and you end up amassing a huge collection because you saw someone else with a huge collection, and you play like two games out of, say, I don't know, 50 you collect or something. I was experiencing that anyway myself. So that was, I kind of went, right, that is it, And recently I got that Pandora's Box Jammer
that was cool.
arcade thing. 600 plus games all in one. Sorry?
I saw your video on that, and it was fascinating. I don't know how they actually make that for how much they sell it on AliExpress, and it was just unbelievable.
Because I got it bloody cheap, because as soon as I purchased it, maybe a few days later, the seller had kind of sold out. He'd had like 30 left, and there were 2 designs you could choose from, and I wanted one particular design. He goes, no, it's sold out. So okay, I'll have the other one. Because Larry Bundy had, showed me, what it was, and I was like, because I was saying to myself, I said, as I said in the video, was like, I want to get another retro console. I was thinking about maybe getting a Neo Geo CDZ. I didn't want to get the, I don't know why I wanted that. I was just being it's one of those weeks where you think, I want this, and he said, don't bother with that. Just get one of these devices, just Pandora's box thing. And I was like, right, I'll get that. $100. Also, it costs over $100 to post it to the UK, but I thought that was amazing value for money. No point if you want to play a Neo Geo. There's no point. Well, you've got to have a lot of money spare to go buy yourself an AES console or maybe a consoleized MVS, and then buy all these games you want to play. Then might as well get all that condensed into one machine. Yeah,
it makes sense. I mean, I've got a Neo Geo CD, the first incarnation of it. A PAL, actually, not the Japanese version. And even the CD games on that are quite expensive. I've only got a handful, but like Metal Slug is like over £100, and that's the CD version. And obviously, it does have problems with loading times, but it's nothing that bothers me. Some games don't really have any, like King of the Fighters '94. That just load. There's no load times in that. I want to get.
Some of the earlier games don't have much loading at all, do they?
No. I mean, I've got Super Sidekicks, which is one of my favourite games, and Neo Turf Masters. I don't reload at all. But then I've got like King of the Fighters '98.
That'll take forever.
Favorite. That does, yeah. But it's like someone that grew up on the Amiga and even PlayStation 1. It's not worse than those. I guess if you're, if you absolutely hate any kind of loading times, and I guess maybe you do if you're used to the Neo Geo in terms of the cartridge. Sure. It'd piss you off, but it's not really a deal breaker. I know there are some games that actually are cut down a little bit. I think there's the one that's Last Samurai or something like that. I can't remember the name. It's like
probably Last Blade.
Last Blade, yeah. It's not a Samurai Shodown as the other one. That has slightly smaller character sprites. I think some frames of animation.
Well, yeah, they think they'll trim down to sort of make it load quicker, or maybe to fit it all on the CD. But they should be able to fit it on the CD because the game's only like 12 megabytes or something.
Well, it's not so much the CD. It's more the RAM, because obviously there's only so much you can chuck into the RAM. Whereas if it's a cartridge, the RAM is sort of in the cartridge, so it just for
the cartridges, some of the games went from as little as sort of 40 megabytes all the way up to sort of 150 and 256.
Yeah,
so it was such a, because the console went on for so many years, you got such a I used to have one, and King of the Fighters something like 2000, maybe I'm sort of making up numbers here, but it's maybe 150 megabytes.
I think it was more than that. It was way more than that. It was I mean, it's something like I think the last maybe Samurai Showdown, was it 5 or 6 or something like that? That was just a massive meg count. Like over 500, something like that, something silly. But yeah, it was
some of the early games. What was I had? Alpha Mission
2.
Yeah, that was something like 40, and that was one of the earlier ones.
Yeah. Magician Lord as well. Yeah, that was like just a platform game, wasn't it? So
yeah,
yeah.
So what are you guys collecting at the moment then? Have you for example, Stuart, because you're running a shop? I mean, do you still put games aside for your own collection?
I do, yeah. I mean, I'm quite bad actually for watching something on YouTube and going, oh, actually, yeah, that was a good game.
You're exactly what Ollie described.
yeah, I'm that guy. But I hate people that want to get full collections or everything must be,
What have they done to you, Stu? Leave them alone.
No, I don't.
Well, he's got to deal with them, as they come in. So they can be very particular.
I don't mind dealing with them, but I just think it's infuriating when I remember a situation when some guy came in with a list of Xbox original games. Oh, I want to go for a complete collection. Have you got Club Football Newcastle? Have you got Club Football Celtic? Have you got Club Football? And I was just, oh, dude, you're just buying rubbish here.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. When you go for a complete collection, you've got to seek out some of the really rubbish games. And those rubbish games probably sold really badly at the time. So come now, they're really rare, and people will charge you 50 or 60 quid for it. For a like, I don't know, something like Dragonheart on the Sega Saturn, someone will try and charge you 50, 60 quid when it's a piece of poo, you know. So yeah, it's one of those things, you know. It's but that's the challenge of, you know, it's all right collecting everything for one console if there's a decent kind of a reachable number, which is kind of sensible, like, I don't know, say 200 games or something more. But if it's something like a PS2 trying to do a complete collection, you'd be insane, you know. It's just a waste of money.
But I'd say even with the, let's say the Super Nintendo, which I think is around 250, 300, something like that.
Yeah,
you know, if you like platformers and you hate sports games, well, you still got to buy the sports games. Or if you know, you like Trevor or me, you don't mind the sports games, but then you don't like the, you know, the one-on-one fighters. You just hate those. So you've got to go out your way to, or maybe buy some of that really expensive RPGs. And you just, I hate RPGs, but I'm going to get the complete collection.
People want a Secret of Mana, or what was the other one? They want a Super Nintendo.
Legacy of Gaia, or
that's not it. What was the other one? There's another weird Earthbound. That was it.
Chrono Trigger as well.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to buy these games that are just dog awful and or not in the genre that you like to, you know, play games in. And so part of me is, I think that I get a little bit frustrated with that. But I'm more, you know, Trevor will be talking about something, or someone will tell me about a game in the shop, or something will come in and go, oh, actually, yeah, I want to play that version, and so I'll pick it up. And but I do, at least I'll give them a go. I like to think.
I mentioned the blue. You saw my blue developer tool PlayStation. I think you're after one of them now, aren't you, Stu?
Yeah. So what does that do? Tell me about it.
The blue PlayStation. So developers, along with their developer kit, like Psygnosis or, you know, any other company that wanted to make a PlayStation 1 game, they would get a big, you know, probably a PC. With C++ on it and big manuals, all that crap, for several £1,000s, maybe a lot more than that, actually. But one thing they'd also get, they get a PlayStation 1 console, but it's not just it wasn't a retail unit. They'd get one that's blue. It was a blue PlayStation 1, same shell and design, it's just coloured blue.
I remember them, yeah, because some magazines did some competitions where you could win one.
Yeah, there was
a
also
kid, or a teenager, you know.
There was a type of a consumer version called the Net Yaroze, which is black. That's
probably it.
This is actually only developers got the blue one, and basically it's the great thing about it is it's region free. Because the idea was, cool. You know, it was a guy would compile or girl would compile their game or burn it onto a CD, the latest compile, the latest version of their game, and bung it on the blue PlayStation and play it. So it can play CDRs without mod chipping. And it can also, and it's region free, so it's kind of cool. Only thing is, my one, the lasers gone crap, because the first sort of 3 or 4 models of PlayStation had crap lasers, and there's the stories of being able to turn them upside down and stuff.
Yeah. So like 3 of my friends had to turn it upside down to play it, and I was just like, you know, because really Sega Saturn, you know, was like it was like an amazing tank. You know, it never broke. And like 3DO, I had never broke, and it's just like everyone I knew had PlayStations. Boof, I was breaking.
Yeah, they did fix it. Unfortunately, they're like mega easy to repair if it's just a simple thing. You only got to get, you know, one of the later model PlayStation lasers, and they just you just got to take the top off and put them in. There's very little. There's no, you know, there's no complex stuff to it. So I would do that on mine, but the power lead to the CD lens popped off the motherboard, so I need to get it resoldered.
How does it pop off the motherboard? That's the crazy thing, you know.
Yeah, the solder, I think, was just got very brittle, and it just kind of, you know, a bit of nudging and has popped it out. But yeah, so they occasionally pop up on eBay. They tend to be very expensive, not quite as much as a Yaroze. They can go for about 600, 700 quid now. They weren't cheap in the first place. I think they were about £1,000 when they came out. But a lot of games, obviously, there was Devil Dice is the one everyone is that became a retail PS1 game. That was actually a Yaroze game that someone programmed with that kit. But the thing is, with the Yaroze, you had to basically make a game that would fit in the 2 megabyte of RAM that the PS1 had. You couldn't make a game that was bigger than that, so you couldn't make Final Fantasy VIII, and or anything like that.
Sure. So you guys, so you both you guys just sort of collecting games and stuff for just various consoles?
Yeah. So I mentioned it before, where I only collect games that interest me, and on consoles that I care about. I'm now not interested in getting a full set. And like Stu was saying, well, I remember a lot of Facebook sort of collector groups, and I do sort of roll my eyes when I remember there's this post someone did on the Wii U collectors group. So people are going a bit crazy over that now, because this is like probably the cheapest it'll be, and there's only about 200 odd retail games, so you could feasibly do it. And because it's so recent, this is about the easiest point you're going to get what will become rare.
Sure.
So this is a good time to do it if you're ever going to get into that. Thankfully, I kind of
when you're collecting sort of the really popular consoles, basically what the PlayStation 1 and 2, and obviously the Wii, you're going to get so much shovelware. That's the problem. On those consoles,
with the PS1,
so much. It's like I swear that probably 80% of the PS2 catalog is junk.
It's horrendous, yeah.
20% is amazing.
I think you're generous there. I think about 10% is amazing. But the trouble with the PS1 is it's now got to the point where sort of the 20-somethings who had the PS1 as their first console. Obviously, for people like us, it was Commodore 664 and all that stuff. They've now gotten old enough where they've become they've probably got jobs now where they've become nostalgic, and to them, like Spyro is their kind of Mario. And they're like, oh god, old
Crash Bandicoot,
which is to us obviously we're like, really, that was your first game? But to them that's like mega not nostalgic. So they're now jumping on eBay, and they want to get a copy again in good nick. So they end up getting in bidding wars with other 20-somethings, and that they're driving up a little bit. It's still fairly low though, the PS1. I mean, I've gone a bit mad with PS1 recently because I have a lot of affection for it, because it was the first console I bought with my own money. I was old enough to do that. And they're relatively cheap. I mean,
there's so many copies are printed. That's the thing.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
there's always going to be something. There's always going to be like a random, like, I think they released some of the retro Final Fantasies on the PS1. So if like a compilation pack. So if you had one of those, they'd probably be expensive, or some sort of like Metal Gear limited edition thing. Those ones are probably ones that are going to be pricey. But maybe, what about the big box PS1 games that came out originally? Are they quite pricey, Stuart, on the second-hand market?
Well, I don't think we didn't really get them over here in the UK. It was.
I swear I saw it. My friend had there's a Tekken, there's a Ridge Racer.
So I've done a bit of research into that, because I'm kind of into the PS1 collecting. It's really weird. So between 1995 September, when the PS1 came out in the UK, and about July, I can't pinpoint the cut-off point, until about July 1997. There was quite a big variation in PlayStation boxes. It settled down around in mid-96. I think the first PS1 game that had the black strip on the bottom with PlayStation written on it in big text was Rage Racer. That was the first one. And after that point, that was still mixed in with ones that just had the same size case as Rage Racer, the square shape that we're familiar with. But they didn't have that black thing at the bottom. The only thing that identified it as a PlayStation game was the embossed or the lettering on the spine and the logo in the top corner.
But you still got the double jewel cases.
You got double jewel cases.
The clamshell ones, yeah.
Some games came in both that, like Crash Bandicoot came in a double clamshell and a regular size. Tomb Raider,
yeah. So guys, you're saying the big box PS1 games weren't actually released over here? Are you saying that? Or was that like?
I'm 99% sure. I've never had one.
Maybe they're import ones then.
There was Mortal Kombat 3. If you look that comes with a very odd cardboard box with the PlayStation. They've got a black strip down the left-hand side with PlayStation repeated 3 times in a very weird black cardboard box.
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah. And it didn't come out with anything else. There was also a lot. You have to be careful because there's a lot of rental games go on eBay, and they had their own unique box because Sony were very proactive in getting rentals out, and Nintendo hated rentals.
Oh yeah.
They were pretty good with them. They didn't really fall over themselves to help people rent. But Sony actually made a point of making a plastic box that's actually better than the regular retail boxes, which are brittle as crap. You get the broken hinges. Stuart knows about this, I'm sure. Cracks on the cases, the teeth break on the that you stick the disc on. And And of course, you get the legendary inlay sag, which I'm sure you guys have seen.
Yeah.
Where the front cover sort of like bends inwards because there's nothing for it to lean against.
That's right. Ollie, sorry, carry on.
I use a bit of a tissue or bubble wrap to sort of pad it out.
Keep it in place.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think there was a big import scene because I know the PlayStation almost came out a good sort of 9 months a year. Trevor will correct me on that before it came out over here. So I think your friend may have got. Had some import games or
possibly.
I think that must have been the answer of why he had the sort of the big box games. And I know in America it was maybe 50 to 100 that came out, and some people just try and collect those and things like that. And then they went to they just had the normal jewel cases that CDs came in the States. Yeah. I think we did have better boxes than they did for ours. I think personally they look better, but.
Well, the trouble is our manuals had to accommodate loads of languages. So
was that the reason?
A big fat manual that needs to go, in a case that's slightly bigger. Whereas America, they just had English, so they could just make whatever case they want. And it started off
like English and French, wouldn't they?
Yeah,
like Canadian market probably, or Spanish maybe.
Yeah,
but yeah, you're probably right, Stuart, about the import stuff. I mean, because I think, because the PS1 I saw, long before it came out in the UK, because we had an import shop in Cambridge, so they had like, the 3DO, Neo Geo CD, PlayStation set up, and playing Ridge Racer before everyone else, was crazy, But then it was so expensive though, it's like £500, I think it was, like import with like no game, or get a demo disc. That was it.
Yeah, it was funny because it came out over here and it had a very good launch set of titles. It was about sort of 12,
I think the best
12,
launch ever for a console. I think the best launch ever for a console has to be, for me, the Dreamcast.
Yeah, got about 18 games. Yeah, huge amount of games.
Unbelievable.
Caliber straight away. Got it straight away. Yeah.
Yeah, I was mad. I paid a lot of money for a Japanese Dreamcast, and
no, you weren't, Ollie. That was good.
Well, no, because I traded in my amazing Sega Saturn collection to get a Dreamcast.
That's ridiculous.
So it was. I was bonkers. I still regret it to this day. My friend still tells me about it. I'm like, shut up, shut up, shut up. But yeah, because I remember getting that Japanese Dreamcast, and it was a Japanese machine with an NTSC signal. It wouldn't work on my TV. It'd be black and white. So I had to get this little box to convert the NTSC to PAL to get it to work, and I was just like, so much money just spent on trying to get a picture and then waiting for, because the games when it came out, all it had was Virtua Fighter 3 and what was
Godzilla.
Godzilla, that was a pile of shit. And then I bought that as well because I had nothing else to play. Our Sega Rally came out, and that was it, Sega Rally 2. And it took forever for Soul Calibur to come out, and
Sonic Adventure was until
Sonic Adventure, the King of Fighters 98, and it was just, I should have just waited for the UK release and just save my money. But
I think one of the worst ones, although you could argue the quality of the main game probably makes up for it, was the N64. Like in Japan, it was just like a Mahjong game and Mario 664, and that was it.
Yeah, that's
really.
But then Mario 64 was amazing, so that would have kept you going. But
it was still like releasing a console. Well, Nintendo have done it again, haven't they, with the Switch, with like Zelda and something else. Or Bomberman. That was it.
You could pay £50 for Street Fighter 2. It's just come out, isn't it?
That's crazy. It's like it's a game. It's a game that's already out on the Xbox.
I think it's about £35.
I'll take it back. I'll take it back.
Take it back. Oh, I'm buying it.
Yeah, so
I'm relying for that.
The only reason to buy it, well, for hardcore fans, would be to play as Violent Ken or slightly disgruntled Ken.
Great name, isn't it?
That was it. That's all you get, really. Ken. And you change the colours of their outfits. Well, it's not really worth buying a Wii or a Switch and £35 on the game. It's just if you really want to get it. But it's even though I love Street Fighter, I wouldn't go out my way to buy a Switch just for that.
It has got a new 3-player mode or 2-player mode. Two of you.
Is that in Street Fighter Alpha though? It's done before.
Oh, has that been done before? I've never seen that before.
It was dramatic mode, wasn't it, on the Alpha? You have to complete the game, I think, on a certain difficulty and whatever. And yeah, it's amazing because it was like the animated cartoon where you've got Ryo and Ken versus M. Bison. I used to play that non-stop. But
it was like the film, isn't it? It's the same as the ending of the film. Yeah, just ruined the film for everybody. Sorry. Yeah,
loved it.
But then if you want to play the the HD upscaled Super Turbo, you've only got to get the Capcom digital collection for the 360. It's like £10.
Yeah.
And you get Street Fighter 2 Turbo HD Remix. Try saying that 10 times. We also get Final Fight Double Impact, the 1942.
And
it's
Magic Sword, isn't it, or something like that?
Yeah, Magic Sword. Yeah, and it's just like £10, and you get them all on the single disc.
Yeah, it's not worth spending 35 quid on a game.
Yeah,
Or you can get for a tenner.
Yeah.
That was a poor release. A few of them, it feels like, to be honest with you, that should be a $7.99 downloadable only.
Definitely. So you both of you guys have got a Switch, right?
Yes.
Oh, you both have. Are you guys?
Have you got one, Trev?
I've got one. Yeah, gave in to the lack of games.
What do you think of it?
So I've played about 2 hours of Zelda Breath of the Wild. The last Zelda game I played to any length was Ocarina of Time. I don't mean a remake of it. I mean like the actual N64 game when it came out, which I enjoyed, but it's all right. I've bought it really on knowing that there's going to be games coming out eventually that I'll play. I will get the Mario game. I know I'll enjoy that way more than Zelda, and probably FIFA, and I'm sure there'll be hopefully there'll be a Tekken or something like that come out for it. I'm hoping that we mentioned on the last episode, Stu, about I think there's a great potential of maybe the last gen games getting versions on the Switch, because it'd be great to play, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, and maybe even older games like Virtua Tennis and Dreamcast classics, and great 360 games on a handheld. And Grand Theft Auto 5 special Switch edition or something would be really cool. That's kind of why I've bought it, really.
You bought it on the idea that there may be some of these games that come out, which you've kind of just like made up. I hope there's a Streets of Rage remix coming out or something. No, yeah, I'll buy it just for that, even though
back in the Sega the awful days. That's pretty much why we bought the Saturn and the Dreamcast, wasn't it? So to be fair, they followed through, I guess, with those a little bit. But so yeah, and I've got Lego City Undercover Many because the girlfriend really likes that. It's kind of the closest thing you got to Grand Theft Auto onto the Switch at the moment, but. Yeah, I'm not playing it a lot. I'm still playing my PC more than. In fact, I'm playing more PS1 games that I've bought. I'm trying to get through them. So
Stuart, are you still playing your Switch?
Yeah, I got one on day one, and to be honest, God, that sound bad. People are probably going to be laughing at me, shouting at the TV. Not that they're on TV, but Zelda. I don't know. I found it a little bit. I don't know. I didn't like all the weapons kept on.
Yeah,
a little bit too much admin, too much. Oh God, your weapons falling to pieces again. Oh, I've got to get another bone. Bash, 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 bash. Oh, that's fallen to pieces again. Oh no,
I think the thing that got on my balls, the one that I think you'll probably agree with this, is there was a bit when I had to go to a certain area that's cold, and I had to carry like a bit of wood with a torch, and I kept like walking into something, and it would blow the torch out, and I'd go all the way back to a fire to relight it. I know some people are like, "Oh, that's amazing! That's great, realistic, and awesome." It just pissed me off, and I just stopped playing.
You got to get the coat. You got to get the coat from
the guy.
I
know, some obscure dude and like get a coat. Well, could be fucked.
Yeah, that's really early on in the game. I'm a little bit further than that. But anyway, the point is, what I was going to say is, I did actually trade it in and swap it for Mario Kart, which I'm really, really enjoying.
Oh, you got rid of Zelda then?
Yeah, and I thought, well, the thing is, so many copies of Zelda have been sold. So before you know it, they'll be traded in everywhere, and there'll be piles of them. So I'll pick one up again.
40 quid, nice and cheap.
It'll be a lot cheaper, and I'll pick one up. That's the plan anyway, and I'll get back to it, and I'll really enjoy it. But whether or not that will happen, I don't know.
You're gonna grab one, Ollie?
You traded in Zelda. What at your shop? So you gave yourself a copy and put one on the shelf.
I won't
talk to yourself while you do it.
Yeah, I swapped it out for Mario Kart, and I'm really enjoying that. That's really good.
Excellent.
You
getting one then, Ollie, or the glowing review that we just gave it?
Behave! I'm not wasting my money.
Yeah, right.
I'm sorted, mate. I've got this Pandora's box, mate. I'm sorted. Over 600 games. So I've got.
Are you playing it? How much are you playing it then? Is it like?
I haven't played it for a week because I've been too busy. But
right,
I've been playing Injustice 2. That's what I've been playing.
Yeah, I want to get that actually.
Really good. The single player story mode's amazing. It's like the story's far better than Batman vs Superman. It's like take this game story and put that on film.
That's what they're doing, isn't it? The sequel, like sort of the Batman Nightmare thing. I think it's vaguely Injustice, isn't it?
We kind of Injustice 2 is like has Brainiac in it, and it kind of it's a great kind of plot for the film for the game. It feels a bit like the sort of Tim Burton failed Superman Lives thing, and with the inclusion of Brainiac, but it doesn't have things like Darkseid in it, which is what I think the Justice League movie is going to sort of hint at. But
Wonder Woman's out in it next week.
Yeah. I've got to review that. But if you manage to get hold of Injustice 2, definitely, I think you should enjoy it if you played. Did you enjoy the first one?
Yes, I like Mortal Kombat, isn't it? Basically, the same guys.
It's a major. I think it's a big improvement over the first game. I think there's a better kind of character roster and things like that.
Yeah. So obviously we talked already about laser discs and collecting.
Yeah.
So Stu, you got into it, didn't you? Not that long ago.
I've got a laser disc. Yeah, but the problem is, it's kind of the way we got our living room now. There's just not the room for the laser disc player, so it's in the office. But then I can't really sit down and watch a film on the small little 14-inch TV, which is great for gaming, but for watching a film, it's just not right. So I've kind of got one with a load of films, and I've sort of highlighted other ones I want to watch, but I'm almost I kind of want to watch them on a 24-inch CRT TV, right where my normal TV is. But then I'm that's the girlfriend's not going to let me. So
I suppose you could just get some sort of like glass stack to put all these things on, to sort of stack them all up. Well, unless you already have that,
Well, I've got in the living room. I've got enough room for. I've got my Virgin box, my PlayStation 4, and actually the Switch as well.
Yeah, a short throw projector.
We'll go for a projector.
Yeah, short throw one that you can just.
One of the ones that you put on the little unit in front, and that'd be a good idea because it has got a big white wall behind it. But it's kind of like if I do want to watch a film, I'll have to sort of bring it out, set it all up, and I kind of like the idea of not having to do that.
There was actually Steve Benway actually did a review of this tiny projector. It's literally a tiny cube that can fit in your hand, and it projects 100-inch display. It's only 480p. You can obviously downscale stuff, but obviously the connections are a bit naff in it as well. I'm not sure it's actually got HDMI, so you'd have to be a hell of a set of converters to get a laserdisc into it. Maybe they're going to release a second version that'll have it, but that sounds like something that could really take off because the bedroom where I'm sat in now. I mean, it's got a big white wall. That'd be great just to stick the cube on, and on like a table, and I could just project it. There's no huge devices to lug around.
Dude, if you blow up Laserdisc for like 100-foot screen, whatever, it'll look garbage. Just don't bother.
Oh yeah, that's what
terrible. Still do it. If you haven't watched it, if you haven't watched Laserdisc in a while, and you think, oh, let's have a night of watching movies, and you blow up to like this ginormous TV, you'll just be like, oh, this looks terrible. So it's as Stuart was saying, I'd probably play it on your CRT because that's what it's a composite signal. So, but to get the best out of it, you're going to need a decent video scaler, or if you've got a plasma TV, they're quite good with the black level on those, the contrast. And the plasmas often have decent comb filters built in, so you might be able to get some decent results out of it, like no picture smearing, and the picture should look a bit more cleaner and less noisy.
A lot thinner as well, fat.
Never use S video on the latest players with the TV. To always just go composite.
Yeah, well, that's the signal.
I've got a SCART lead, an RGB, or a SCART lead from.
Well, it won't be RGB. It'll just be actually just use the composite output on it. Don't bother using that SCART thing. Just use the composite cable.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I'd recommend. Yes. What player have you got? What's the model number?
Oh, hold on. Right, I'll have a look. It's right next to me. I've got the old Pioneer CLD 2950.
Oh, that player's not bad. That's a good player. That's not bad for a UK model. Yeah, they're nice. They're quite chunky as well.
Yeah, no, it's a cracking machine. I've had no problems with it, and I like the remote and everything with it. And it's good.
It's good. It's a good machine, that is. Yeah.
You managed to get the remote with it.
Yes,
Well,
yeah, and I've got
like
the remote. It's got that big dial on it, so you can sort of rewind and.
Yeah.
Well, that's those the pioneer kind of UK models were all kind of mid-range players. They were never kind of high-end ones. So, if you get to a point where you're like, you want more laser discs, or you get into it, to a larger extent, then you want a sort of Japanese player or like a American kind of pioneer elite model, but they are pricey. Right. So they come with the elite ones always come with this kind of furnished kind of wood paneling, to make
nice.
it lush,
I think with the Muse ones, aren't they? The High Vision ones.
Well, High Vision ones, there are Muse players, yeah, but they're just don't waste your money on them, basically.
Yeah.
There's they're like 1080i. The Masters weren't particularly brilliant, but people, hardcore LD collectors love those because it's HD, but you're paying £200 or dollars for one movie.
I think playing regular Laserdiscs is great on them as well.
Yeah, they can read because the laser's different, so you can often read through rotted Laserdiscs.
Oh, cool!
So, yeah, not bad.
Sorry, Stu, I jumped in on you there.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I can't remember what I was going to say now. But I don't think I'll be sort of upgrading the Laserdisc player sort of anytime soon.
No.
Unless I do get a maybe a little bit of a more comfortable setup to watch a film or something. Because it's nice in here to sort of play games because I'm right in front of the screen, but to actually sort of lay out in the home, I haven't got a sofa in here, so I'll be sitting on an office chair watching a film, and it doesn't feel quite. That's not how I like to watch films. So,
it's not the same, is it? No.
What's that? Sorry.
It's not the same, is it? Playing a game on a TV than watching a film. So
yeah,
it's different with like old games consoles. Playing them on big screens isn't so much. Look at the terrible graphics. It's kind of you can put filters on them on an emulator, and I actually like the chunky pixels. Sort of on the screen, and the signal is obviously produced from a digital kind of bunch of stuff happening. So it's kind of a bit different in terms of blowing it up to a big screen. I think it's quite cool to play Mario World on a ginormous screen. But yeah, with a Laserdisc, obviously you're dealing with like a real life kind of image. So the noise is blown up with it, and it's just it's kind of very soft and smeary and a bit shite, unfortunately. So do you still getting the discs then, Stu, or have you kind of tailed off?
I mean, I highlighted about sort of 20 because when I bought it, I got a sort of a job lot with about 60 laser discs.
Yeah,
and so half of those I think I sold. Then the rest of them, these are ones I want to watch. I've got loads that I want to watch. It's just how sort of tough life is. You're working, then you go to the gym, then I'm in the shop, then I've got to go out, then I've got to do this. To actually even just to put on Netflix and watch a 90-minute comedy.
Yeah.
I just don't. Sometimes finding time to even do that. So to set up a whole sort of to move it into the living room, to sort of plug it into the TV, and I might not get the best picture on sort of the big HD TV. Part of me says, "Oh God, I'll get round to it. I'll have to try that out." And then you get the girlfriend moaning, "God, why is this machine out in the living room? Why is it all wires everywhere?" And oh God,
what are these giants
about this?
Why have you mutated our CDs?
I know, why are they so big? And it's not good. But
why don't you have it set up at your shop?
Oh, totally.
I could
just have a TV in the corner to show that people, laser discs. Look at this device that's kind of old but new. Or something,
I know. I just play Lethal Weapon all day long.
Yeah. Then get people to bring in their laser discs for you. You can give them peanuts for them, and then sell them for more.
I know. Yeah. I do I did buy a load from. Where was it? I went to an Oxfam and there's loads. I said, "Oh, we get laser discs," and you go, "Oh, yeah, there's a big pile of them." So I've got some good ones there.
In Oxfam?
Yeah, they have Oxfam have the music. They have ones that just do records and books. They don't do clothes. They just do records and books.
This is in Croydon?
This was in Streatham.
Oh, right.
Oh, right.
And Yeah,
I
so
suppose most of people don't know what they are, so a bunch of old biddies take them in at an Oxfam and go, "Oh, what's this?" And then they think it's like vinyl, but it's
In
not.
that voice.
It's like, you know,
yeah.
you got oh, it's a
get me.
soundtrack
What
to
is
Lethal
this?
Weapon. You know, it's like oh, it's a massive CD.
But I've never got the time to go, oh, I wonder if I look through this thousands and thousands of LPs that I might find a laser disc of maybe a film that I want to watch. And realistically, that's probably, not going to happen.
Committed.
It was just by chance that I sort of asked and they had a few. So
That's cool,
yeah.
man.
So Ollie, I mean, I think you're quite hardcore into it. Do you sort of regularly buy discs, or are you kind of stopped, or are you kind of an on and off thing?
I have stopped for now because I have no more space. So yeah, I've got no more space for them. My kind of 2 shelves, which all the laserdiscs go on, they're all full. It's like jam packed, and so I do keep an eye on what's for sale on eBay, but you get sellers on there, complete twats who like want to sell. There's a guy on there, right? You can go have a look. He's selling like Japanese copies of some Arnold films or Dolph Lundgren films, charging like over £100 for these films. I'm like, you'll never sell them ever, never sell them. And he just thinks they're valuable because people think, oh, this is Japanese, it must be worth a lot of money, and it's not. It's worth peanuts. So I do. Yeah, I'll say I do keep an eye on stuff, but it'll always be something very specific. It have to be like a Criterion Collection disc or some sort of random DTS title. But at the moment, I've just I've kind of stopped for the time being. There was a point before Christmas I was like more, just gobbling them up, whatever I could find. But at the moment, there's not really any good titles on sale at the moment. So I've kind of stopped.
How many have you got?
I've actually searched something on eBay. I want to get Blazing Saddles on laser discs.
Great film.
Yeah, cracking film. But that's
always check the Laserdisc database. Put in Blazing Saddles and check if it's like widescreen, whatever the one you see, and it hasn't got laser rot. So because you don't want to seek out a title and go, oh, I really want this film, and you get it, just infested with laser rot. So. Just got to make sure it's not printed by Sony, because Sony were the worst at making laser discs. But what was I saying? Something else. What were you saying? What are you going to say, Stuart? Trevor? Or
I was just going to say. I mean, how big is your whoever it is? How big your collection?
How big am I? No.
It's a different
where's the collection? I don't know. I've not counted. It must be like I don't know, over 200 titles. I think. That's not many. Cool. It's not many for a big collector. Big collectors have thousands, but I've got. I'm very picky because I just pick random. That's a lie. Actually, I'm not that picky. It's depending what the film is, and if it's like on Blu-ray for 20, 15 quid, I see it on a Laserdisc for like 5 quid or less. I'm like, meh. I'll get it on Laserdisc, and if I really want to review it, then I will seek out a movie and buy it on Blu-ray. But it's quite the novelty of getting it on Laserdisc is always quite cool, and at a cheap price. Yeah, can't turn it down.
Is there any issues with sort of the girlfriend moaning about the large discs and
no, she
bloody player out again?
Luckily, she thinks they're really cool. So if I say, let's watch a Laserdisc tonight, she's like, yay! So it's always quite fun.
Oh, great!
Yeah.
I collect them as well. I kind of had about 10 years ago was when I started. And I had a big phase where for about a good year I was just getting loads of them, and I pretty much stopped for about little odd discs I'd pick up here and there, but then just before Christmas gone, I went on an absolute spending spree of just getting completely rinsing my spare cash for a whole load of discs.
You just get a random binge, don't you? It's
I don't know what it is.
Loads out of the blue.
There'll be a video on YouTube, some collector, and again that thing about you see someone else do it again.
I want to do that,
Yeah, it's probably you, Ollie. To be honest, you get your bloody Laserdiscs out.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, bloody need to buy some now. I actually used LDDB as a marketplace on there. You find this other collections.
Yeah, that's true.
A bit more reasonable. Yeah, so
they are quite good. I've got a few from them, like guys from Holland and stuff, and they're good value, and they'll turn up on time, and good condition.
Exactly. Yeah, they tend to sort of package them up very well, and they're all signed for delivery and good tracking and all that sort of crap on there, which is always good. And yeah, just sort of went a bit crazy with a lot of Star Trek stuff because there was a hell of a lot of Star Trek laser discs, just
tons, yeah.
TV series as well as the movies.
Stuart's after Blazing Saddles, but
Yeah.
is there a title you're after?
That
You've been trying to get hold of, but you just can't get it. Either too pricey or.
There was one that I was trying to get for a while, but I've actually got it now, so I'm going to kind of say that. I mean, I've got Star Wars Episode 1: Phantom Menace.
Oh yeah,
yeah, that was a film that I think I saw your review of it, but the Laserdisc thing, you got it in your collection. But it's one I've always known back when I was about 16 or something, when I first discovered, like, you know, I knew about lasers when I was a kid because I had a mate whose dad had a player. So I was about 11, I think, when I first saw one. But when I sort of really got into, you know what, I would love to get some of those. I did this sort of research into, you know, what was the last one that came out and all that kind of crap. And that was the one, and everyone was saying it looks amazing, and you know the sound's great, although apparently it's not really. I think people just got overexcited.
Phantom Menace Laserdisc, because everyone wanted it because you couldn't get it on DVD. So
yeah,
everyone was hunting down because, you know, they did this big deal. Oh, it's come out on VHS. It's in widescreen. Oh my god! And the Laserdisc was like out in Japan. It was like people also charging like £60 for it. You know, importing it because they did print quite a few copies. But the picture. Okay, the best thing about it is the sound, because it's incredible. The sound on the Laserdisc, if you've got a AC3 demodulator to get the Dolby Digital EX soundtrack, it's amazing and outdo the Blu-ray. But the picture is kind of quite muddy and it's full of edge enhancement. Some people praise it. I'm like, nah, it looks too digital. It looks too much like they've applied too much noise reduction and stuff on it. And I'm not a huge fan of the picture, but some parts of it looks great. Some parts just looks bleh. So yeah, it's a bit hit and miss, but it's one of those things where if you want to show off the sound, put that on, you know.
So not as good as like I guess the first release on DVD, you know, which is like 2000-ish, wasn't it? 2001. Is it better than that, or is it the same?
The picture's probably slightly better on the DVD.
Easily, yeah,
I think. But also the DVD was the extended cut, wasn't it? We had a few extra scenes where people, kind of purists, like to get the theatrical cut, which is on the VHS and Laserdisc.
But the extra cut has got, like, it's literally like a scene of an alien watching the pod race or something, and it's got
where they arrive at the city and they come out that little underwater ship they're in, and they jump out. That's kind of been added in, things like that. It's just
great.
Kind of it's not really worth it, is it? Really?
No. Yeah. Oh, there is actually. Yeah, I was just thinking about it. There is one that I'm after. Kind of, I guess I'm go far as got a Holy Grail, but Star Trek Insurrection.
That's pricey. Yeah, that's one of the later releases. Yeah. I don't own that. If I did have it, I'd happily sell it to you, but I don't have it.
Oh, very kind of you. It came out in America. Didn't come out over here. It was the last Star Trek film to come out on Laserdisc. So yeah.
I'm just going to check the price. I'm just going to check the price of it because
I've seen some go for just like 30 quid, and on the other hand, I've seen one where people have bidded like mental over probably a bunch of Trekkies. You know what they're like? Stay clear of them.
Well, it's probably not even the Trekkies, mate. It's probably the Laserdisc collectors. You know,
it could be
outbidding it. See, we could get a Japanese one.
Yeah,
they're like, that's $38. There's 2 copies available for Japanese one. That's not bad. And
there you go. I'm pretty sure that.
The US one, it's that's pretty cheap actually. You get it. It's not that bad. No, it's $42, mint condition.
That's pretty good. I'll send
you a link on thingy.
Cool. On the interwebs. Yeah, I mean, it's not a great Star Trek film. It's probably one of my least favorite, really. But it's just really boring. It's
just got an amazing soundtrack, really.
It's just
Trev, hold on. Don't buy if it's boring.
It's Star Trek. But what you have to understand.
$40. Don't buy it if it's boring.
Hold your horses. Let me explain.
So, there's plenty of things I like, but I'm not going to buy them if they're boring.
What like Zelda on Switch? You mean?
Yeah, and I sold it.
There you go. So when it comes to Star Trek, there are also shit Star Trek films and good ones. If you're not a Trekkie, like okay, so a rubbish Star Trek film that's 3 out of 10 to an average person. To a Trekkie, that would probably be more like 6 out of 10 because we like watching the characters and all that stuff. I can watch Star Trek 5 and really enjoy it, even though it is utter shit.
My friend
I
Richard
would
loves that film, so he can.
I fucking love it. It's my like,
what would
favourite.
happen is, though, you'll buy that Star Trek Insurrection Laserdisc. It'll turn up. You put it in for 5 seconds and goes, "Yeah, it works," and you put it back in. You put it back in your collection. Go
Shelf collector.
Hey, I own it, but I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, and obviously, there's like I'm a big fan of the Alien films, so Resurrection and Alien 3. To me, there's probably whatever you kind of give it out of 10 and not being a fan, you can I can add probably another 2 on that because I'm just a fan.
I think if you got Alien Resurrection on Laserdisc,
I have,
because that's the one that has the sort of the right film stock they'd used.
Yeah, it's good. It looks good.
It's a different picture quality to what you see on the Blu-ray and stuff. And it was, I remember it. I had it on DTS Laserdisc, and the picture was really good. But I wouldn't bother with Alien 3's got a lot of like problems with its picture. I recall.
Problem with that is, the director's cut is my go-to version for that now.
Yeah, it's the theatrical cut, which is rubbish. So,
yeah, I liked that original. Not like it was obviously compared to Aliens, and Alien is crap, but I still liked it enough. But when I got the quadrilogy box set when it came out, I paid £80 for it. It's like £1.50 now, and like CX whatever it is. I saw the director's cut, and it's actually kind of not the director's cut, is it? Because he didn't really have any involvement. But it blew me away. I was like, this is like a different film. It's absolutely amazing. And I think they've redone it since then. They've cleaned up the weird audio crap because they didn't have the
they got the actors back in to redub some stuff. That's the Blu-ray version.
Yes. I think what they show on like Sky Movies is that one.
Speaking of CEX, I went to my local Cambridge branch recently, and they've started selling retro stuff again.
Yeah,
it's
all very overpriced.
Oh, it bloody is, man. They had House of the Dead, not without the gun, for the sake of Saturn, for £70.
Yeah, would
you charge that amount, Stuart, for you?
I wouldn't. But it is a little bit of a rarer game that one to get, and it was a bit later, and it really did push the Sega Saturn to the max. And it's not the best version of it, but I don't think I'd charge £70 for it. No.
Yeah,
if it had the gun though, if it had the gun and box, £70.
It was in the big box. To be honest, I'd have to do a little bit of research on that, to make sure I'd the right price.
You don't know this stuff, Stu. You should know this stuff.
I can't have Stuart quoting prices, and then some listener goes, "Oh, he's going to charge that amount." Goes into the shop.
That's £100, please, mate. But on the podcast,
it was £70 on YouTube. You can.
On YouTube, you said this.
Yeah, I've actually, some things they're overpriced. I had a bit of a splurge a couple of months ago on Mega Drive, and yes, I bought Castlevania: The New Generation, and their mint mint from them is 100. Is
that the Mega Drive? What, it's just called Bloodlines or something?
Bloodlines in the US, it's called The New Generation over here. I paid £100, and obviously, like, oh my god, that's basically my limit. What I pay for a game.
That is a lot, dude.
but what I got was it was mint. I had to double check it wasn't a repro.
Yeah,
but no, it was fine. But then I saw one in it wasn't Castlevania New Generation. It was another game that was like listed as mint, and I actually got them to show it to me. And there was like basically, I took the sleeve out, and they must have been like, "What the hell is this guy doing?" Because it was just a kid that gave me the hat that was working behind. He probably wasn't even born when the Mega Drive came out. But anyway, and it was just the sleeve, the cover had water damage, and they'd Pritt sticked another cover from another game to it to reinforce it, and then put that back in. And and there was actually the bit of the spine had been cut out, so you can see the Mega Drive logo from the cover that was blue tape that was stuck underneath it. You wouldn't know this if you just picked it up and then, yep, great, I'll buy it.
How much were they charging then?
Well, it was a game that was like £30 mint, but it was mint. It was just as quote unquote mint, which in their eyes is just it's complete.
That's not mint.
Yeah, it's not. They've got 3 levels. They've got unboxed, which is obviously a loose cartridge or something, and they've got boxed, which is just it's in the box. But sometimes you get the manual, and sometimes it's in really good nick. It depends on whoever's logging the game in their system, I guess. And then you've got mint, which supposedly it's in pretty good nick, and it's got the booklet, and it's all in good condition. But then I bought a Ristar from them that was like £30. And I got one at the same time that was in their boxed level, which is £20. So I got them both together. And the mint one didn't work. I tried to clean the cartridge and it still didn't work. And the boxed one had the manual, and it was in good nick, and the cartridge worked. It was like £15 cheaper. So I just returned the other one, got my money back, and that's the trouble with eBay. You can look at a picture, hopefully a good quality one. You can be like, yeah, bam, that's in good nick. I'm paying pretty much what it's worth, you know.
I've got a question.
Stuart, what's the most expensive thing you've got in your retro shop then?
Stuart himself.
At the moment, it's probably a CD32, like a really nice box one.
Oh, right.
Really?
And we've actually got a Neo Geo AES at the moment.
How much is a CD32? How much is it?
About $299.
But so what is it? So it's got the box and all the junk.
Yeah, it's all boxed with a few games in there, but just really nice condition. And then we've got a Neo Geo that comes with sort of the clicky control pad.
CD one,
CD pad, yeah.
That's good.
It's got the CD. I think it might even have 2 of those. And but that had a load of games with it. Someone came in and bought all the games, but sort of left the console. So the console's probably going to be there for a little while because we're going to have no games to sort of sell it with.
Do you have Atari Jaguar and Alien vs Predator?
No, we've had it plenty of times. We've had loads of Jaguars.
How much would you sell it for, though? Like, I say you've got the game. I say you've got Alien vs Predator in. How much would you charge the game for?
It always comes down to you know the prices at the time. So we would check sort of basically sort of what it sells for online, and you know probably sell it for a little bit less than that really. And if I were to give a price, unless you know on something like that, I always say we'll do our research on it. Because these people
prices now. Oh man, people are charging box copy for £85. That's
AVP.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd always look at sort of completed listings and see actually not what people are going. Oh, I want £85 for it. It's always what it sells for.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny issue, is it? Because people are like, I'm not paying £100 for a game. That's ridiculous. But I'm like, if it consistently sells at that price, even on something like eBay, that's what it's worth. Because but that's what it's worth.
Exactly, and people know that as well. And you've got to base your buying price on that game. And if you know people say, oh, it goes for £100 on eBay, well, you kind of got to give sort of closer to that.
And you're not paying peanuts for it to get it in the shop.
No, for games like that, as we're now talking about, sort of CX are now in the market for retro games, and you know, I think we offer a better service and you know a wider range of stuff, and we hopefully display it a lot better. So, but there are other. There's you know, if you want to sell a retro game that's worth a lot of money, you can sell it in one of 20 different places, and we're just one of those. And you know, the internet, 101 different shops, CEX, you can sell it on a Facebook group, you sell it everywhere. So we've got to be very competitive with our buying in prices to make sure that we've got them. But I was going to ask a question actually to you guys. Quite recently, or maybe been going on for a while, but Ollie, you use AliExpress and you bought the Pandora box on there. Now, I've noticed lots of reproduction cartridges on there for, you know, games that go for, let's say, £100, for example, like
Mega Man Wily Wars,
the Hyperstone Heist or the Wily Wars or Musha, something like that. And they're going for sort of £10 on there in a reproduction. And part of me has been going, oh, actually, I do want to pay that. I want to play that game. And, okay, I'm fine with it being a reproduction. They say it's reproduction. I'll buy it just because I want to play it on the original hardware.
Yeah.
And what's everyone's thought of that? And would you buy a reproduction of a game that would be, you know, quite expensive?
I have no problem with that. If it's like, for example, I just put in Hyperstone Heist onto AliExpress and they're charging like $4 or $5. That's pretty cheap. You know, if they're going to be, if it's like boxed complete copy and it sells for £50 or say, I don't know, $60, then if you can get a Repro cartridge for $5, then hey, do that. You know, it's. I think the only concern is people. If example, if you're destroying other cartridges to sort of fit in this kind of hacked ROM. So I don't know, Mega Drive stuff. I mean, you can probably easily replicate the cartridge casing anyway. But
I think they're done with a bit of a cheaper plastic. So of course we've had a few of them being sort of tried to trade into the shop, and I've seen one here for £2.97 plus 53p shipping. So it's probably you'll probably get it by August. But the point is, you're talking £3.50 for a game. If you were to get the proper one, it'll be
if it's your own personal collection, that's fine. Yeah. I'd have no problem with that. If people want to play the game, you want to save money, then do it. That's what I say.
Yeah. I mean, my thoughts are, I'm fine with reproductions as long as they're not being sold as the originals, which you might find on eBay. Or they'll sort of discreetly put this is a reproduction in matte and tiny font, charging £100. But there are a lot of the Mega Drive, especially. There's about 4 or 5 games that I've got designs on. But Mega Man, Wily Wars, that's like £500. There's the Ultimate is me and Stu have talked about it before, but Lakers v the Celtics on the Mega Drive. That's I'm not sure there's a price for that because there's like a few dozen copies. You could talk about tens of thousands of pounds.
Jesus,
for that. Yeah, I'm not really sure. There's a couple of dozen. I think there's probably about 20. And then there's Probotector on the Mega Drive or Contra Hardcore. That I'm after, but then that's not so bad, but it's about £100. But I wouldn't get it from AliExpress because I'm not convinced that I would like a reproduction that would look as good as the real thing.
Sure.
Obviously make,
well, they got on here, Mega Man and the Wily Wars.
The label is like stretched out. Box. Yeah, the label looks a bit naff though. Like the image on the label looks like it's been stretched out to fill it.
Yeah.
Whereas there's the one I would go to that on Facebook. There's a dude from Australia who makes really, really amazing reproductions called This and That Reproductions. Look him up on Facebook. He does Master System games, all kinds of, loads of them, and they look immaculate. He makes sure the cartridge, like it correctly matches the original. He makes sure it's printed on really good quality paper. The sleeve, the manual's really well done. You pay a bit more, like 30-40 quid, but paying 30 quid for a really good quality.
I would suppose if you started purchasing more and more of the sort of repo cartridges and to save money, but when you come to sell your collection, it won't be worth it.
Oh yeah.
That's the problem. That's the conundrum you may encounter. If you forget about buying the brand, so you forget about buying the official ones and sort of replace it with repo ones, and you may find it difficult to shift it, at a decent price.
But then there's I was listening to Pat the NES Punk, and he had he was doing a really good like segment from his podcast where it's about there's a certain point where something is worth a lot, and then all the people that may be interested in buying that thing either die or if they move on to something else, and that means that this thing that may have been £1,000 20 years ago is no longer worth that because the people that would be willing to pay that no longer exist. So that might be a point that would happen with video games. There'll be newer systems that everybody's going to be after, and the other ones will fall by the wayside. So I could probably live with a reproduction. I'd be quite happy to have a reproduction cut because I like to play on the real systems as well. And I sort of have a combination of EverDrives with the real cartridges. So I would like to be able to take the Wily Wars off the shelf, open up the box, put the cartridge in my Mega Drive and actually play it. I'd get a little kick out of that, I guess, nostalgic kick. So I'll be happy to live with that, and on that on its own, and I won't be like, oh, I really want it to be an original. If you got the original, great, well done and all that. But anything over £100, I really want to stretch to. I think 100 is the most I've ever spent on a game. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, I think, guys, on that note, I think we've gone over an hour, and I think we've all got to get our din-dins, haven't we?
I'm starving.
Is everyone getting evils from their missus looking over right now?
I can smell
the game thing. You can smell the what?
I can smell I can smell what's cooking.
Oh right, it's one of you going to say. Yeah, like a fart or something. Anyway, thanks, Ollie, for coming on once again. Really appreciate it.
No problem, guys. Been a good, it's been a good evening. So
Ollie, I'm sure
good.
everyone knows, but what's your YouTube channel called?
Yeah.
And how do we find you?
just put in Oliver Harper into YouTube and you'll find it, because my YouTube URL is just like a bunch of numbers and letters. So it's like just put in Oliver Harper and you'll find my retrospective reviews.
Oh, perfect.
Check Oliver out on YouTube, and we're going to be back again with another episode, possibly next week, just to put a hint out there. Stu, where can you find us?
Well, I'm at home at the moment.
Well, they know your full name now, so you know.
Well, yeah, I'm Stuart McNeil, and I'm at home at the moment. No, we're on our website, which is consoleshock.net. We're on YouTube, which
And
you
the
search
Facebook.
Console Shock, and then we're on iTunes. Search Console Shock, Stitcher, Facebook. Just search
We're
Console
there.
Shock. Hopefully, you'll find us.
Awesome.
Are you on
Thanks a lot,
MySpace
guys.
as well?
Oh,
we're
God.
on MySpace. We're on
Bebo.
Bebo.
GeoCities.
Friendster. Also, one last
Grindr.
thing. Our AOL hot word search term is Console Shock.
Well, thanks a lot, guys, for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the show. Hopefully, we'll see you on the next one. Cheers at all, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.
Take care, everyone.